Hello, I am Steve Brown. I'm doing a movie review for the Chernobyl miniseries for my Physics 100 class. And I'll go ahead and get started here. The Chernobyl miniseries on HBO covers the events of the nuclear disaster that took place on April 26, 1986. Chernobyl shows what happened with the technicians the night the core of the reactor explodes, causing large amounts of radiation to fill the air. Essentially, the disaster was due to a safety test that was supposed to be shut down even after the emergency shutoff still exploded. The series of events that took place after an attempt to contain the radiation source and prevent further contamination to the surrounding area. Question 2. Some of the physics described was how the reactor works and how the reactor exploded. In the scene on the helicopter with Valerie describing to Boris how the reactor works, he goes on to state that the reactor makes electricity with steam. The steam itself then turns the turbine, which generates electricity, and that how a typical power plant makes steam by burning coal. The nuclear plant uses fission by taking an unstable element like uranium-235, which has too many neutrons, and the neutrons are flying around. By putting enough uranium together, the atoms will eventually collide with one another, and that causes or produces a great amount of energy. At the same time, he then describes that the fuel rods in an RBMK reactor are covered in graphite to moderate the neutron flux. Question 3. There was definitely an unethical behavior displayed by, and forgive the pronunciation because this is Russian, Anatoly, Nikolai, and Victor. Not even going to attempt to pronounce the last names. Not only in the first episode, when they received the news of the explosion, the scientists refused to believe the technicians that explained the situation and began to treat it as already under control and not to say anything to the public other than only being a fire on the roof. Question 4 asks if there was any politicization in the tactics that were used for this. The example that I came up with states that politicization tactics were used in how the information was presented to Gorbachev, as the radiation is described as having the same amount as just getting an X-ray. Even though Valerie, goes on to correct that information, stating that it's more like 400 X-rays of radiation. Plus, the KGB was used Valerie to give the version of events that took place in order to make the Soviet Union looked like they had everything under control. And last question, would I recommend this movie to anybody? Why or why not? Of course. For anyone curious about world events, interested in Chernobyl, on how Chernobyl became a ghost town, or just looking for an intriguing explanation of what happened to the people involved, this would be a series I'd recommend to other people, also just for education. Thank you.